Ready to go, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Western Riverside Council Government Executive Committee meeting. And I'd like to call this meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, as we always do, and I would like Rita Rogers to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, please stand, put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Always hard to get perfectly synced up.
No, Rita, we just talked about how fast you were. I said, I like fast. Okay, Janice,
I'm
can
in
you
New
please
York,
conduct roll
so that's why.
call?
Roll call, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
When I call your jurisdiction, please state your name, City of Banning. Mr. Happy, I thought I saw you here earlier. Can I get a verbal acknowledgement?
I'm sorry, you don't hear me?
Okay, I do now. Thank you.
Present.
Thank you. Beaumont,
Mike Laura.
Calamasa,
Randy Hewitt.
Canyon Lake,
Casey Castillo.
Corona,
Jackie Casillas.
East Vale,
Christian Dinko.
Hemet,
Russ Brown.
Rupa Valley. Mr. Barajas, are you with us, sir? Lake Elsinore,
Brian Tisdale,
Menifee,
And Lee Meyer.
Moreno Valley, Murrieta,
Lori Stone.
Norco.
Here.
Is that Mr. Bash?
Yes, hi.
Thank you, sir. Harris,
Rita Rogers here.
Riverside,
Aldo Fierro.
San Jacinto,
Crystal Rui.
Temecula,
Marianne says hi.
Wildemar,
I'm Benoit here.
County District 1, District 2,
Yes, Karen.
thank you, District 3,
Chuck says hi, Marianne.
District 5. Mr. Hewitt, are you with us, sir? Eastern Municipal Water District,
Bill Pauley's here.
Western Municipal Water District.
I am present. Good afternoon.
Thank you. We're Riverside County Superintendent of Schools. Dr. Gomez. And WRCOG TAC Chair. Mr. Van Wagenen, I thought I saw you.
You did. Every time you call me that, I forget that's what my role is. I apologize. I'm present.
Thank you, sir. Madam Chair, that concludes roll call and we have quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're now in public comment. At this time, members of the public can address this committee regarding any items listed on the agenda. Members of the public have an opportunity to speak. Do we have anybody wishing to address this board?
I have no requests and I see no hands raised.
Last call for any public comment. Okay, seeing none, we are now at the consent calendar, A through I. Does anybody wish to pull any of these items?
Madam Chair, I don't believe I need to pull the item to make a minor change, if you'll allow that.
Please.
Item 5B, the minutes. The minute says that Riverside County represents about 80% of the state's population. I think intuitively, we all know that that's not correct. The statement that was made in the last meeting was that the 14 urban counties, which make up the urban caucus for CSAC, represents 83% of the state's population.
I can make that adjustment on the minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else for people to pull or corrections? If none, we will go ahead with that minor change on the minutes. Do I have a motion on the consent calendar?
Paris makes the motion to approve.
Penny Sedell, second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
City of Banning,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Yes.
Corona,
Yes.
Eastvale,
Yes.
Hemet,
Yes.
Yarupa Valley. I would like to note that Yarupa Valley is joining us right now. I'll come back for a verbal. Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley, Murrieta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Paris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar,
Aye.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 5, Eastern Municipal Water District,
Yes.
Western Municipal Water District.
Yes.
Mr. Barajas, I've seen you've joined us. Can you give us a verbal acknowledgement, please?
Yes.
And we are currently voting on the consent calendar with one minor adjustment to the minutes. Would you like to vote on that item?
Yes, and yes.
Thank you, sir. That concludes the roll call vote for those items, and it passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're now on item 6 for reports and discussion. Our first one will be an update from the California State Association of Counties.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Supervisor Washington and I recently returned from the CSAC annual meeting, where Supervisor was elected and installed as first vice president. At this time, CSAC also established its legislative platform for the upcoming calendar year, which includes the following state priorities: continued county COVID-19 response and recovery, drought preparedness, addressing wildfire in the modern age, modernize the Brown Act and promote safe, welcoming public meetings, homelessness funding implementation, emphasis on the implementation part, illegal cannabis, and felony incompetent to stand trial waitlist issues. This list is not exhaustive, and I can provide additional details to anyone interested offline. Switching gears a little bit, CSAC has also been engaged in the national opioid settlement, and so have we at the local level. The county has been working with all 26 eligible Riverside County cities to ensure their participation in the settlement. If/when all eligible cities opt in, Riverside County will receive a total of just under $94.5 million. Of this, cities are eligible for a total allocation of $20 million over 18 years. These yearly payments will increase over time, and the county is in a position to receive just above $90.5 million, approximately $12 million of which will be available for reimbursement for prior county opioid-related expenses. Monies are to be spent on treatment opportunities for substance use disorders or mental health issues related to opioid use, of course. And the dollar amounts were calculated using a formula agreed upon in the settlement, which includes factors like the 2019 population number. This is the explanation for why 2 of our Riverside counties do not meet the criteria and why we have 26 eligible Riverside County cities as opposed to 28. It's important that all eligible cities participate because dollars left unclaimed will go to the California Department of Healthcare Services. And not that we don't want dollars going there, we just want dollars to stay local as well. I'm sure that your own cities have taken action, but please feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you may have. And thank you for listening to a rather quick CSAC update.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Well, first off, quick, but it was very powerful. Congratulations, Supervisor Washington. And that means so next year you'll serve as first vice chair, and next year you will be chair of CSAC. So we're really excited to have you represent Riverside County. You want to share anything?
I don't want to take any more of the board's time, but I'm honored. And yes, I'm looking forward to 2023 when I'll be president of the State Association, but more importantly, it brings some Riverside County clout to the State Association, as well as the connections that occur at the state level.
Well, thank you for your efforts and your involvement.
Thank you.
Okay, do any of the members have any questions or comments? Janice, do you see any? I don't see any.
I see no requests.
Okay. With that, we will receive and file this report. Thank you, Andrea. The second item is 6B, legislative activities update. Bill Blankenship.
Bill is here. Bill, you're on mute. Oh, sorry. No, I'm not. All right, onward to the first slide. Thank you. The 2021 legislative session came to an end, and the last day of session was September 10th, and October 10th was the deadline for the governor to sign and veto bills. Housing bills dominated the 2021 legislative agenda. And in 2021, there were 2,776 bills were introduced by the Assembly. And of those, 1,038 bills actually were completed. And of those, 770 bills were signed into law. I know that sounds like a large number, but that was the fewest number in the last 12 years. The high mark was over 5,000, and this year, of course, was 2,776. The most watched bills in this legislative session were Senate Bill 9 and Senate Bill 10. And I know that's not a great surprise to all of you. On to the next slide, please. Senate Bill 9 was one that probably caught everybody's attention. And I know many of your municipalities have had presentations on this bill. So I'm going to give you our synopsis of the bill. And Senate Bill 9 was signed into law on September 16th, and it will become effective or become law on January 1st of 2022. It was part of the Senate's Building Opportunities for All housing package, and was believed by the legislature that this bill would take a big step to addressing California's 3.5 million housing unit shortage. The bill is expected to lead the way in the creation of 700,000 new homes in existing neighborhoods. And this is a number that has widely been covered in the media. And I don't believe that's the case, but that's what the media has covered, that they believe this bill is going to go a long ways towards meeting that housing gap, if you will. The bill allows homeowners in most neighborhoods to subdivide their property into 2 lots, thereby allowing up to a 4-plex where a single home previously existed. The bill also contains protections against the displacement of existing tenants. The bill stipulates that an owner may not demolish a rental unit or an affordable rent controlled unit. The bill also requires lot splits to occur in urban areas and that the 2 parcels are similar in size. A municipality shall not impose design standards that would preclude the construction up to 2 units or preclude the ability to build 2 units. And from the unit being 800 square feet in floor area. However, municipalities can require a front and rear setback of 4 feet. So there are some minor protections in there. The bill limits lot splits from occurring in prime farmland within a very higher fire severity zone, flood zone, historic district, or habitat conservation zone. The bill further stipulates protections and rules for lot splits from occurring in specifically constrained areas of your community. A local agency may deny a project if there is an adverse impact upon public health and safety. So you do have the ability as a municipality, if you believe that these units in your neighborhood are going to create an adverse impact, to deny a project. Next slide, please. Senate Bill 10. Senate Bill 10 was signed into law on September 16th, And it was also part of the Senate's Building Opportunities for All housing package. This was a bill that allows local governments a streamlined path to create what they called light touch density. The bill allows agencies to zone residential densities by up to 10 units in transit-rich areas or urban infill areas. Many of you have probably questioned, what is a transit-rich area? It means a parcel that is located within a 1/2 mile of a major transit stop as defined in the Public Resources Code, or a high-quality bus corridor. This also stipulates parcels that are located within a very high fire severity zone, that those areas would not be able to be built on with the provisions of this bill. The good news about this bill, besides there's a few actually, the bill provision sunsets after January 1 of 2029. The bill also requires an opt-in or a vote of your municipality by 2/3 vote to choose if you want to participate in it. The legislative opt-in was a compromise, and this was the only thing that really got the bill out of the Assembly Appropriations Committee. So they had to put the opt-in because the direction of the bill originally was that this was going to be another mandate like SB or 9. In addition to that, a municipality can overturn a initiative. So if you have a voter approved initiative that would preclude this type of development occurring in your community, a municipality with a 2/3 vote could overturn the aspects of that initiative to then allow a municipality to participate in the functions or the abilities of SB 10. On to the next bill, please. Next slide. AB 602, Assembly Bill 602 was known as the bill that would base future development impact fees to be based on a square footage for residential units. The bill was signed into law on September 28th and will effectively become law on January 1st. The bill requires a housing impact fees imposed on a square footage basis versus a per unit basis, which is the law today. A municipality can produce a study that is not calculated on a per square foot unit calculation if they can demonstrate that the per unit calculation creates a similar fee. So you do not have to follow the provisions of the bill on a square footage if you can demonstrate that. The bill also establishes transparency and accountability according to the bill author, standards for future nexus studies. It would require that future nexus studies would provide a capital improvement plans and demonstrate current level of service. The bill also stipulates that HCD would develop a template for future nexus studies that may be used. It would not be a requirement that a municipality could use the template to prepare future nexus studies. The bill stipulates that all fee studies after July 1 of 2022 that they need to calculate a per square footage fee, unless you can make the case that it should not be that. The bill also stipulates that after January 1, which is coming up, that nexus studies are adopted will need to identify existing levels of service for a facility and will need to demonstrate why a new level of service is needed. So all fee studies, this will impact probably most fee studies that will be adopted after January 1. And then of course that July 1 deadline will kick in on a square footage basis. So if your municipality is thinking about adopting a nexus study soon, you should look into more provisions in this bill. The bill stipulates that impact fees will be collected at certificate of occupancy or final inspection. This should not impact many of the municipalities in Riverside County because they're already in compliance with that. WRCOG has reviewed their TUMF program and believe that we fulfill the requirements of the bill. On to the next slide, please. Local control. So you're all sitting here listening to this going, gosh, I'm really tired of Sacramento telling us how to operate. didn't we just introduce a bunch of new housing bills just a year ago? And why are we now introducing more, impacting the way we do business? And I know that's a growing concern. And to that end, Assemblyman Marisucci in 2021 introduced ACA 7, and ACA 7 stipulated all decisions regarding local land use control are made within the affected communities. That's essentially what ACA 7 would have done. It would have eventually, if passed, the legislature would have been placed on the ballot and for voters to vote on. Unfortunately, that bill did not receive one committee hearing and never moved. So a local grassroots group led by Redondo Beach Mayor Bill Brand started a movement, started here in California, in Southern California, and it spread throughout the state. And they have now introduced an initiative that was presented to the State Attorney General on August 16th for title and summary. And they will be collecting signatures. I believe it's been asked of me, what do we think of this bill, or what do we think of this movement? I think the movement has merits, but for those of you who have watched these statewide ballots, to get on the ballot is a tall order. May take millions of dollars if you have to go out and pay signature gatherers. Seldom do matters get on the ballot without that type of effort. We certainly saw the recall get on the ballot that way, but I think there was a lot of driving circumstances that put that on the ballot. So I think the thing to do is to watch how this movement continues and to see if it picks up steam. And I know they're going around the state and asking jurisdictions to support their efforts. So essentially that language of that initiative ensures decisions regarding local land use controls, including zoning regulations, are made by the affected communities in accordance with applicable laws. So that's by and large what ACA 7 set out to do. And certainly I think ACA 7 maybe helped start the movement this year. On to the next slide, SB 35. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so here's a bill that became law some time ago. It actually became law on January 1st, 2018. And I think recently WRCOG has received quite a few calls from some of our member jurisdictions who were questioning about this bill. And I think this kind of goes to the point that some of these bills that get adopted, like SB 9, SB 10, that, sometimes we don't really see the impacts of these bills. Maybe SB 9 and 10 were not good examples, because I think we're already seeing the impacts of SB 9 in your jurisdictions. But what happens over time is, these bills, as they start to get implemented, like this bill, Senate Bill 35, HCD had a full year to come up with the implementation language for this bill. And once they did, I think it's now becoming known that there's something much greater to this bill than the fact that it mandated essentially that what I would call a de facto inclusionary zoning mandate. And it also put a component in there for prevailing wage. So it moved legislation forward and development forward that that would have to fall under that. So to qualify under the streamlining effects of SB 35, you had to have a prevailing wage. In other words, your construction workers had to be paid prevailing wage. And you also had to have a certain percentage of those units were of affordable nature. The bill stipulates a set of projected design and location criteria, but I think that's where our cities are starting to have some difficulties with it. For streamlined ministerial approval process, the site is zoned residential use and a residential mixed use, or has a general plan designation that allows residential uses or mixed use for non-residential uses. The qualifying development project is a multifamily housing development with 2 or more units and at least 2/3 of the square footage. So essentially what this bill is doing is it put into place performance criteria or design guidelines, if you will. And it also had that other aspect to it with the prevailing wage and the affordable housing requirement. This is a bill that is being used as a tool to, I think, push cities to meet their RENA goals. And they're doing it through these design guidelines. So in a couple of slides here, we're going to talk more about this bill and maybe what WRCOG can do to help our municipalities address this bill from a few years ago. On to the next slide. Okay, so where do we go from here? The legislature is in the middle of a 2-year cycle. And many of the bills that we followed and tracked this year, they did not make it through the legislative process, will be in play next year. We believe that we're going to see SB 5 come back, which is a state housing bond. It did not move. I firmly believe that it will be on the ballot in November of 22. I think the legislature got bogged down with bills like SB 9 and other bills. So I think we'll see a statewide housing ballot. I believe the legislature, from everything we're seeing in the bills that were introduced last year, will tackle CEQA reform again, density bonus, and legislation that will encourage development of affordable housing and repurpose retail and commercial sites. As we've seen through the pandemic, there are many empty office buildings, and many of those developments or existing office buildings will be converted to housing. I also believe that you'll see a big push for increased funding through K through 14 education programs. And you're also going to see a natural resources bond come forward in 2022 and be put on the November 22nd ballot. And what's driving a lot of this is it's again projected that the state will have a very large surplus in our budget. It's projected that it's somewhere around $31 billion. That may grow as we head towards the May revise next year, and we may see that number increase. So always when the state has extra money, which doesn't happen very often, but now it's happening 2 years in a row, I think there's going to be a big increase push for infrastructure like there was at the federal level. And of course, always what plays into that is increased funding for education. On to the next slide, please. So where does WRCOG go in our legislative agenda for 2022? It's our plan to continue to provide legislative updates on a timely manner and continue our monthly updates as needed to the Planning Directors Committee. That's where most of the updates have occurred this year. And also we have an on-call legislative service where we have agencies who run across the bill and how does it impact them, much like SB 35. And we delve into those issues and help our member jurisdictions navigate the impacts of that legislation as placed on them or the questions that they may have. And like we said, this is open to you, the elected officials in your community, and we're here to serve you with our legislative work. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris. I know he would like to take on the next slide. And then certainly after that, we're available for questions. Thank you for the opportunity to give this report.
So thank you. I'd like to really quickly just touch on a handful of things we're doing for our members on particularly in the housing legislative side. One thing that we have been actively working on and continue to work on is something called objective design standards. As Bill said, one of the requirements of SB 35 is it limits your discretion to approving or denying projects based on objective design standards. To do that, one must have objective design standards, and so that's something that we are working on. Next slide, please. So earlier this year, we reached out to members of the planning directors and asked if any of the agencies had developed objective design standards. Some of them had, some of them had not. So we asked if they would be interested in us helping them. 10 of our agencies said they were interested. And we've been moving forward, and we're bringing an item to our planning directors this month to share that with them. Next slide, please. And what I also wanted to share with you is we've done an analysis of SB9. I know county staff has done one. Many of you, those of you who are on SCAG, there was a item on SB9 that was brought to the SCAG committees, and I just wanted to share with you that analysis plus some analysis we've done ourselves. While the state believes that SB9 will significantly increase the number of single family units, the Turner Center said there's maybe about 7% of the eligible lots potentially could be converted to multifamily uses. And in particular, they pointed out the financial barriers one would have to converting a single family lot. I would also point out that over the past 10 years, the county population has grown by 10%, but the number of dwelling units only by 6%. So clearly population and dwelling unit growth, while it's proportional, is not directly related. And then finally, I would also point out, based on an earlier analysis we've done, is that the county has between 100 and 200,000 permitted entitled single family lots, which are able to develop. Therefore, we believe that there would be a number of financial reasons why a developer would choose to develop those lots versus redeveloping an existing single family home. Next slide, please. So Madam Chair, this is a receive and file order. Mr. Blankenship and I are happy to answer any questions you might have, and I want to thank you for your time.
Does any of my colleagues?
Yes.
I was just going to add on SB9. I think jurisdictions, and I heard this just the other day from somebody else who works for many different municipalities, that a lot of cities, and your city might be one of them, that are seeing kind of a rush on SB9 type project approvals. I think there's a pent-up demand out there, if you will, of people who wanted to build these ADUs on their property, and that's what we're seeing right now. I think in the long run of this bill, you're not going to see this be like Chris said, Riverside County has so many lots they're ready for development. You're certainly not going to see market rate builders going out and building these. These are probably individual homeowners who are going to be building these type of units. And there's just a limited number of those folks who will be doing that.
Thank you. Supervisor Washington, your hand's up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to help Bill out a bit on, I think maybe your second to your last or third to your last, where you referenced the state budget surplus. It was missing 3 zeros on the slide. It said 31 million, not 31 billion.
It's billion, you're right.
I wondered about that.
Kevin.
Thank you. Mr. Bash.
Bill, can you say what you said last again, that you don't feel there'll be a run on, because that's not what we're experiencing in Norco, even though we're getting lots of inquiries.
Norco might be an anomaly to that because, many of your housing sites have larger properties. And I think if you looked at communities like yours, and you looked at more established communities like, older communities like Riverside, you might see more of those type of requests to build those ADUs. But I don't think
ADUs, I'm talking about SB9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those will be, most people are going to be building, auxiliary type units on their property. That would be my thought. I think some of the coastal areas will see the push for subdivision. I think some of the larger cities, you'll see that. But I don't think that's sustained. I think there's a lot of interest in it right now. And I think there's a lot of folks over time wanted to build those type of units, and for whatever reason felt that the process was too prohibitive previously, and they didn't build them. So now it seems like there's, the gates are wide open, but I don't think that's sustained, Kevin.
Well,
I'm sorry.
We put Norco into a historic district anyway, so.
Well, then you can't do it then. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
Madam Chair, I see no other hands raised. No
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Bill, when you said that we could deny if there's adverse impact. What is adverse impact that could allow a local entity to deny?
Health and safety.
For
That-
example, an emergency vehicle.
Adverse impact to your sewer system. That would probably be a good health and safety.
Okay, all right. I was under the impression there was basically nothing we could do. So it's good to hear
No.
that there are ways to stop some of those that are challenges. So
And
so
like,
my
you know,
next
like
question-
Kevin just pointed out, Mayor Bash just pointed out, is that, you know, you can't do these in every area. So if you have a historical designation, if it's in an environmental area, if it's in a fire severity zone, there's areas where these just can't be built and can't be done
Right.
as well.
And when you said 10% county growth and 6% dwelling unit growth, is that taking into,
I
Kristen,
said that.
into account that you have more than one person in a dwelling unit?
Yeah, so we looked at the census data and the countywide population grew about 10% between 2010 and 2020, but the number of dwelling units only grew by 6%. So the average persons per household has actually gone up. So our perspective is that while SB 9 might lead to more housing, ultimately it is the people who want to live in a region and the demand for it. We don't believe that people will build homes just to build homes. They will build homes when the people are here, and people will continue to move to the region regardless of the pace of the homes being built.
Okay. And my last question is, our statement, when you have been addressing the planning directors committee, could we just have you shoot to the exec committee just through Kurt or something, any of those bills that you are addressing, you know,
Sure.
maybe just bullet points about it like you had here, so that we're not waiting for, get a whole long list and be overwhelmed at all these bills.
Sure. That's actually in the agency activities update because we provide the update on the planning directors, but if there's anything else significant, we can
Right.
certainly send that out.
I think we
Does
could
anybody-
provide the report when we give it. There's usually a written report that goes to the planning directors, and maybe that's something that we could provide to the executive committee if they would like it.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Beck.
Yeah, I wanted just
Anyone do?
Karen, just one thing. That we just went through the process with a developer in Norco, the whole health and safety thing. There's almost nothing that would qualify under health and safety. I mean, we brought in a top attorney, and it's actually a joke. So, I mean, from traffic to sewage, I mean, it's very difficult to say you can't do this because there's a health and safety issue. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. It's one of the terrible things we had to face with a 300, and we had to approve it. So just wanted to chime in on that.
Thank you.
Well, it's not
Any
law
more-
yet. So was that on an applicant that's in ahead of the law?
That was somebody who wanted to build a 320 unit apartment complex, and as we worked through the process, they pretty much almost by checklist said, nope, that won't qualify, that won't qualify, that won't qualify. We got lucky because they submitted 2 projects, one of which had a component of low income and the other did not. We approved that one. And now they're probably going to have difficulty building it. In the meantime, we're now playing musical chairs with overlay zones. It was a very, very interesting process. Basically, what they've done is handed the keys of the kingdom to the developer.
Well, you know, the other thing we're going to start seeing is, you know, we're going to start seeing the Attorney General getting involved in housing issues and playing, you know, the state's police officer on municipalities. You're also seeing an increased role every year. There's a multitude of bills that gives HCD more just approval to be involved in your daily business and
Right.
monitoring what you're doing or not doing, and essentially giving them police powers to be able to come down on the local government agencies. So I think you're going to continue to see that trend, and it's pretty alarming. It's not an accident that you see, you know, a statewide ballot effort now happening, because people are fed up. You guys are all fed up.
Thanks, Bill. Good report.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 6C, environmental programs activities update. Mr. Casey.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Casey Daly, Director of Energy and Environmental Programs here at WRCOG. Next slide, please. I'm here today to give an update on 3 of our environmental programs: our solid waste recycling, clean cities, and used oil program. I'll just note that these 3 programs, I had the team look into it, have each been around for over 20 years at WRCOG. So they're some of our longest running programs at the agency. Next slide, please. The Solid Waste Committee meets quarterly to receive updates from CalRecycle waste haulers, outside parties, and WRCOG staff on current and upcoming legislative and programmatic initiatives related to the California's variety of recycling laws. Additionally, we submit annual compliance reports. These are the EARs, or electronic annual reports, on behalf of our member agencies every year to CalRecycle. Most recently, we've begun to work with our cities and the county on SB 1383, which is the newest recycling law in the state of California. This one requires organics recycling. So everything from grass clippings to banana peels is going to have to be recycled. Among other things, there's also an edible food recovery component that we'll talk about here in just a minute. And I want to just draw your attention to what unfortunately you can't really see on the map here or on the slide here, but we've developed a GIS map of to support 1383 edible food recovery. And so what this map is, we've been meeting with city staff at all of our agencies to provide demos of this map, but it really goes down to the address level to provide locations of what are known as tier 1 and tier 2 generators. So these would be everything from Costco to Panera Bread to a grocery store that results in edible food being generated. And instead of taking it to the landfill, there now has to be a program in place to actually get that food into a food pantry that can use it. So this map is proving to be very helpful, and I want to give a shout out to the county and the environmental health folks, because they reached out to us, and so we've been collaborating with them and CVAG on developing this map and making it available to our member agencies. So if there's any interest in getting a demo, we've met with several of the cities, but if you haven't received this, we're more than happy to come and share that with you. We also partner with member agencies on new initiatives and programs. So next slide, please. So I want to touch on a couple of those here. The first one is the Love Your Neighborhood. This was an initiative that began back in March of last year with Riverside County Flood Control. They approached us to work on this initiative, which would help the members meet compliance objectives. And so in June, the cities of Canyon Lake, Lake Elsinore, and Wildomar organized a cleanup event. We had it at Lake Elsinore Stadium. There were over 200 volunteers that participated, and literally a ton of litter was removed from the streets. So this was a fairly successful event. We were really happy to be a part of it. And so on Wednesday at our Admin and Finance Committee, we'll be bringing forward a second agreement to continue the Love Your Neighborhood initiative, and anticipate, based on conversations we've had so far, that this could turn into something where it's an annual event where we bring in more cities to participate. And I know the county has expressed interest in expanding this all the way out to our friends in Coachella. So that's a new event, a new initiative that I wanted to share. The next initiative that I want to touch on here, and this is where we have the requested action today, is this edible food recovery grant. I mentioned in the previous slide, SB 1383 requires local jurisdictions to establish programs to have food that is generated from those tier 1 and tier 2s be diverted from a landfill and actually go to a place where it can be consumed. And so This grant is it's through CalRecycle. We are asking in the requested action to adopt the resolution, but I want to just make a note here that in the last couple of weeks after the staff report had been drafted, we've been meeting with a number of the jurisdictions here. At least one has indicated that they are intending on pursuing this edible food recovery grant. And so what we've determined is that while we're still going to ask for the resolution to be adopted, it's a 5-year resolution, so it's good for 5 years. But we're going to hold off on having WRCOG submit this funding round to really develop an outstanding proposal that can be used throughout the subregion. And frankly, most importantly, the city of Menifee is going to be going after this same pot of money. And it does not seem like a good idea for WRCOG to compete against the member agency as it relates to funding opportunities. I'm happy to answer any questions on that as I get through. Next slide, please. So shifting gears to our Clean Cities Coalition. Clean Cities Coalition is all about non-carbon based fuels. So electric vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, everything in between. Back in 2019, before COVID, we initiated the SoCal Alt Car Ride and Drive Expo, which was a fairly successful event. However, as COVID hit, obviously we were not able to go and continue these in-person events. So like many of our programs, we pivoted towards online and virtual events. And so we've, since 2020, we've conducted 3 of these virtual alt car events coordinated with WRCOG's Future Forward webinar series. This most recent one we had in August included speakers, as you can see here, from Air Resources Board, Air Quality Management District, Energy Commission, and GoBiz. Special shout out and thanks to board member Benoit for his participation on that. And I'm happy to announce that we have tentatively scheduled March 2022 to go back live and in person to have our alt car event this time in the city of Moreno Valley. So we're excited about that, getting back to some level of normalcy there. And then lastly, on our Clean Cities update, recently we partnered up, we're contacted by and ultimately partnered up with West Virginia University, the Coachella Valley Clean Cities Coalition, and the West Virginia Clean Cities Coalition to enter into a multi-year study that will compare the maintenance costs of heavy and medium duty vehicles, alternative fuel vehicles, with a baseline. And so the idea here is that California tends to be a bit of an early adopter when it comes to alternative fuel vehicles. And so what West Virginia is looking to do is to actually get real-time data on the cost of maintenance for heavy and medium duty vehicles. This is a 3-year initiative that will be going with West Virginia. Next slide, please. Finally, we have our used oil and household hazardous waste program. Back in 2019, WRCOG received an HHW household hazardous waste grant to expand capacity for used motor oil. Very exciting stuff. And I'm happy to say that just a couple months ago, we were able to connect with our first store that was able to actually allow us to go in and purchase a larger drum to increase the capacity for this, for that AutoZone. Additionally, we also have our used oil and filter exchange program. This is really kind of a 2-pronged program. The first part of it is education and outreach. So up in the top right, you can see the mock-up of our billboard that we've had running along a number of the freeways throughout the subregion. And again, I want to give a shout out to the cities of Eastvale, Riverside, and Wildomar. They have all allowed through those cities' own electronic billboards to have this message up and running for free. So we're grateful for that. And then finally, our used oil events. This was another one of the pivots that we had to make because our program was largely weekend-based programs in person at the AutoZone, at the Pep Boys. When COVID hit, we were no longer obviously able to do that. So we pivoted through the use of social media and other technologies to create these virtual events. And so you can see, some of the data points down here. We've had, well over 1,200 participants and over 700 filters exchanged since we made this pivot. Next slide, please. And this is just a list of the recent and upcoming events that we have, these virtual events. We are continuing to support these activities. And if you have any questions about this, I'm very happy to answer. Next slide, please. Moving quite along here. And that concludes my presentation. We do have one requested action, which is to request the adoption of resolution 2721, which would allow us to apply for the application for the edible food recovery program. That concludes my presentation, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Jeffries.
I just want to make a request that if the cities of Lake Elsinore, Canyon Lake, and Wildemar look at another event, please contact our office. It was kind of odd to have one side of the street having trash picked up and the other side of the street being bypassed, and I'd like to coordinate going forward. That's it.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Thank you for the comment.
I see no other hands raised. With that being said, we do have a motion, as Casey said, to adopt the resolution for the grant.
I'll move it.
Do I hear a motion?
San Jacinto.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
City of Banning. City of Banning. Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake. City of Canyon Lake. Corona,
Yes.
Eastvale,
Yes.
Emmett,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley, Murrieta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar,
Aye.
County District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 5, Eastern Municipal Water District, Western, thank you, Western Municipal Water District,
Yes.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
it wouldn't unmute.
okay. And one more time for those who didn't respond, City of Banning, City of Canyon Lake. That concludes the roll call vote for this item, and it passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. We are now on 7. Is Mr. Van Wyden still on the call?
I am, Chair. Thank you. I have a very brief update today from the TAC. At our last meeting, November 18th, we had 2 significant presentations. One was from Riverside County Flood Control with an update on the MS4 permit. And the second was an update from GoBiz, the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. And they gave an overview of their various offerings through their office and partnerships, including resource and technical assistance, grant opportunities, tax credits, and other programs. Our next meeting from the TAC will be in January. We are dark this month, but that is the end of the update from the TAC, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Van Wagenen? Come on, make it work. Okay. Reports from our committee representatives.
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Tisdale, CalCom?
Mr. Leesmeyer has his hand raised.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Matt.
You bet. What was the, Mr. Van Wyden, what was the update regarding the MS4 permit?
Is that really a question or you just wanted to be responsive to the chair? I'm just.
No, really. No, really. I want to know.
All right. So Darcy from Riverside County Flood Control really was giving an update on compliance, specifically as it relates to the county, the Coachella Valley Water District, and all the cities who are co-permittees implementing the various MS4 permits throughout. The update specifically addressed the status of the Santa Margarita River, Lake Elsinore Canyon Lake, and the Middle Santa Ana River.
Okay, I'll get with Darcy on any other questions.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, committee representatives. Brian Tisdale, CalCog.
No meeting to report.
Crystal Reese, Sandag.
FANDAC had lots of talk on transportation. We also discussed housing, smart growth funding, various housing initiatives, the Transnet extension ordinance amendments. It was a very, very long meeting and very informative, but it was all about housing and transportation.
Thank you. Ted Hoffman, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Thank you, Raj. We cancel our meeting this month. We're still waiting from the Department of Water and Resources for their final guidelines on the Prop 1 Round 2 Integrated Regional Water Management Grant competition process. And then I know Brenda knows about this, but tomorrow SOPWA gets to look and for the possibility of requesting for proposals for RFP for turf removal, drought tolerant landscaping services to support the Water Energy Community Action Network project funded to the California Strategic Growth Council. And I know they're partnering right now with the city of Riverside. So maybe she has more on that, but they'll vote on that tomorrow. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. Matt, is your hand up from before, or is this now for Mr. Hoffman? Okay. Mr. Benoit.
Yes, thank you. We did have a meeting last month. Probably the only major news, though, is that we're having one of the worst Novembers we've had in quite some time with PM 2.5 and other particulate matter. And with that, we were going for a sort of a downgrading with a CARB for the region for our PM 2.5 levels. We've put that on hold. We've had 2.5 good years for that, but now it looks like we might be missing that opportunity to get there. So as we continue this month, please pay attention to those no burn alerts. They are important. We do have a pretty nasty inversion layer going on right now with the lack of water, lack of rain to break up that inversion layer. We are seeing a lot of that particulate just hang around the basin for much longer than normal. So I'm sure a lot of you are seeing an increasing amount of stuff in the air, but we're working on that, and it continues to be a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on SCAG, we did not have regional council meetings this month. We had the economic summit. Did anybody want to make any reports that are regional council representatives? Okay, seeing none, we will now move to the executive committee chair. Really have very little. I do know there's talk for next year, giving Ben Benoit a year's advance notice if we want to talk. We've been doing August is the dark month. It's been brought up at other committees, but I said we got to hit all the committees before November to consider if we're looking at July or August. So I know that's been talked about at a couple of committees. So heads up on that for next year, Kurt. Because this agenda we just voted for August being dark for the month. Also, I just want to say that we're heading, and I don't know about any of you, but full force into the holiday season. Man, it's like 2020 never happened, and it is just full force. And I do hope that each and every one of you take some time, reach out. This is a time that so many organizations and nonprofits count on all of us. Families count on us, not just our own, but families in the community. So I hope that each and every one of you reaches out. And if each one of us takes just a little bit that we give back, whether it's time or money, imagine the possibilities that could occur this year. So with that, Mr. Wilson, Dr. Wilson, excuse me.
Wow, I better sit up straight. Formal today. Wow. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank everyone for all their work with respect to the strategic plan. So we had our session last week. We had more than a dozen people who were able to be there in person and contribute. The dialogue was very helpful. It was very useful. But even those who weren't able to be there in person, many of you found a way to contribute in some other way, either through submitting your comments or participating in one of the other avenues. So we did get a fairly robust bit of information and viewpoints represented in the document. So the next step will be for us to actually compile the document and make sense of it, and then it will be coming back to you But it'll essentially form the work plan for WRCOG for the next 3 to 5 years, but particularly for the next year. It's going to be the baseline for sort of how we structure things from the staff side. So thank you very much to those who were able to be there in person, and even those who were not able to be there in person, but were able to contribute in some other way.
Okay. Does anybody have items for future agendas? Seeing none, guess we won't be meeting anymore. Just kidding. Okay, any general announcements from anybody up there? Nobody? Okay, this is going fast. We're now going to be moving into closed session. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on any of the closed session items?
I have no requests.
Okay, Mr. Bond, do you have any announcements to make?
We have 4 matters on the litigation closed session agenda. We'll be talking about those.
And any reportable?
I do not expect reportable action.
Okay, with that being said, we will then adjourn from closed session. So at this time, Janice will be moving us all into closed session.
You read the part in green.
Okay, I'm supposed to read. At this time, I ask everyone to turn on their cameras. I was gonna do that once we're in.
But we need to know if they're really who they are before we get them.
Please turn it on so Janice can make sure we got the real Crystal Reese or whoever. And if anyone were to simply change their screen name, please let us know so that we can recognize it. We don't know who names are unless we see your face. So it's really important.
I believe Jackie, oh, never mind. She's with it.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yes, it is still recording.
So
Russ Brown, can you turn your camera on, and Casey? So we can, it's a new thing we have to be doing.
I'm trying to turn it on and I keep getting an error message. So it's being stubborn.
Sure sounds like Russ.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with your voice. Ronaldo, can you either turn camera on or talk to us so we can recognize your voice?
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Okay, Mary Ann?
Okay, we have an iPhone. Is that a committee member?
That's Jack.
That's Mary Ann.
Macias.
Mary Ann's on iPhone too. But I think you got my,
That's Mayor Casillas, Corona. She just turned it on and showed her face.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you, because I was.
The only one I don't see is Casey Castillo. Can you please talk or turn your camera on?
You turn your camera on.
mm-mm.
You didn't?
Mayor Castillo?
We just see your background, Mayor Castillo.
Maybe Mary had to step away or something.
That's why we.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do a roll call real quick and we'll see if she comes back. City of Banning?
What do you do?
Just turn off, I guess. Yeah. They can always call back. If-
Is
You've heard
David
us
Happy
call
here?
You think if we call her name, she'll come back? When we've been calling her name and she hasn't come back?
Okay, City of Banning is not present.
He is too. He's
He
up
is.
there.
You see him?
We see him. Dave?
Oh, I see you. Thank you, thank you. Beaumont,
Yes, sorry.
Calamasa,
Here.
Canyon Lake, Mayor Castillo.
All right, here.
There we go.
Thank you, Casey.
Corona,
Here.
Eastville,
Here.
Emmett,
Russ Brown is here.
Rupa Valley,
Here.
Lake Elsinore,
Here.
Menifee,
Here.
Moreno Valley, Murrieta,
Here.
Norco,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Riverside,
Here.
San Jacinto,
Here.
Temecula.
The real Mary Ann Edwards here.
Thank you, ma'am. Wildemar,
I'm right here.
County District 1.
I am here.
Thank you, sir. District 2,
Here.
District 3,
Here.
District 5, Eastern Municipal Water District,
Present.
and Western Municipal Water District.
Present.
And there's no one here who does not belong, so we are good to go. Do I need to open the PowerPoint?
Yeah, Janice, go ahead and open the PowerPoint. We'll go through it very quickly.
And Janice, could you turn off the recording?
Yes, I'm doing that right now.
I missed the one.